Hi, thanks for joining us for Devotionables, brief devotion for busy people. The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will. Last week, I had the opportunity to study Daniel chapter 7, and with my small group here at church, our Bible fellowship group, and it was so encouraging. It's one of the hardest, on the surface, one of the hardest chapters in the Bible to understand, to mine for all that's there, the depths of it. And at the same time, it's profoundly simple in its message. In Daniel chapter 7, just for those, it may have been some time since you've read it, or maybe you've never read it, Daniel 7, Daniel has in the night these visions, these dreams. And in his visions, he sees 4 beasts coming out of the sea. And they are representative of the nations of that time. So you remember that the children of Israel were taken into captivity into Babylon. So the first beast that comes out of the sea is representative of Babylon. And then the Medes and the Persians, followed by the third beast, which represents the Greeks. And then finally, this super beast that comes out and is just representative of Rome. And that hideous beast. They're described as beasts, as devouring flesh, because they're just the amount of violence and the cruelty and the evil of which these kingdoms and nations bring upon the earth is just inconceivable almost. And it were not for the common grace of the Lord to be even worse. And so the first 8 verses of Daniel 7, just this chaotic scene, just filled with fear and mystery. What is going on? But in verse 9 through verses 12 of Daniel 7, the Ancient of Days shows up. And all of a sudden it's like, poof. Oh, here's the authority. Here's the one who's in charge, before whom no one can exalt themselves, before whom no one has ever existed, right? The Ancient of Days. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He has always been. There's never been a time when God was not. And He will always be. God is eternal. So the Ancient Days, and He's sitting on His throne. He's seated, and we are given this picture of His purity, of His eternality, of His righteous judgment, this fire that comes out from His throne and consumes His enemies. But we know that the Ancient of Days is the one who has the authority from Daniel 2 and even in Daniel 7. He is the one who raises up kings and brings down kings. And here in Proverbs 21, the king's heart is just a stream of water. The Lord just manipulates it. The nations are but a drop in the bucket compared to our great King. And so the Ancient of Days sits on His throne, and He bestows, and later in Daniel 7, one like a Son of Man who comes before. And we know the Son of Man to be Jesus Christ. That was his favorite title for Himself in the Gospels, was the Son of Man. It was a way of veiling the expectations of people who just wanted a political leader, who wanted to overthrow the power of Rome. And yet it was also a declaration that I am He who Daniel saw in Daniel 7. I will come again with the clouds and great power and glory. And He has been handed a kingdom, a dominion that will last forever. And there's this amazing contrast between the rule and the reign of King Jesus and the rule and the reign of these wicked beasts. These wicked beasts bring destruction. They bring death. They take for themselves. They build on the backs of others. And yet in Daniel 7, the kingdom that is given to Jesus, He bestows on His followers. He bestows on His children. It's going back to the days of the Garden of Eden, when the Lord God said, "Go, be fruitful and multiply, cultivate the earth." Jesus has brought that reign back, that we walk with our King Jesus, and He gives us authority in His kingdom. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. And so while these beasts that come out of the sea in Daniel 7, they are to be feared, we fear the one, and we are given peace by the one who is in control over all things, the Ancient of Days. And he has given his kingdom over to the Son of Man, who is the greatest king, the king that we need, the king we've rebelled against. He has conquered us with kindness. And he brings us into his kingdom. We now serve him. I hope that encourages you as we kind of, in the midst of our own country, when things are crazy, we are not given to despair, because we know who is behind all of history as the Ancient of Days, who rules and reigns over all things. And the Son of Man will come one day in the clouds with great power and dominion and authority for all time. Have a great day.